Hello and welcome to another edition of Another Book Review. This week I'll be reviewing a dystopian science fiction novel entitled The Structure, formerly known as The Moon. I was provided a free copy of this book in exchange for a fair review. The author is a debut author named I.K. Stokbaek, I believe is how her name is pronounced. She has a Goodreads page. You can check her out there. She is from England. As mentioned before, this is her first novel. This novel, just to give you a spoiler-free overview of the book, it covers roughly three different sets of characters who are living in this dystopic future world where mankind is kind of reverted back to a kind of subsistence living, and they are relying on machines in order to provide for their very basic needs. In addition, there is in this very class stratified world, there is an organization called, there's something kind of a code name called the Ladder, and that's one of the mysteries of this novel of what the Ladder is. There's also kind of a resistance group called Demolition who are set on kind of restoring, not balance, but I guess more balance to the world in terms of understanding what the Ladder is and bringing more rights to people in this world. Children are selected at a young age for what's called the education system. And once that happens, they're taken away from their loved ones. Human beings live in villages, roughly 50 people or so. So there's kind of reverted back to a time when human beings are barely able to survive, and they're relying on these machines in order to provide basic sustenance. I thought it was an interesting idea. I think there's a lot of things there in terms of themes of the novel, in terms of their artificial intelligence. Is this a theme that kind of comes up again and again? There is a sense of a lost history or kind of human beings being something of a dark age. I thought that the characters were relatively likable. The main character is someone who's been rejected from this kind of education system. He has something of a chip on his shoulder throughout the entire book, and he's someone who's kind of looking for a family because his family has been lost to him. It's one of the genres I kind of enjoy because I think different authors do different stuff with this. It reminded me in some ways of The Knife of Letting Go. If you're trying to place it, there's some similarities there. It's pretty straightforward. It's a relatively short novel. It's only about 120 pages. And so I think there was some interesting ideas. I think if I had qualms with the book, it was really in the execution of the book. It's relatively short, like I mentioned before, and I think the book does have some pacing issues. I think there could have been more time spent developing the characters in the beginning of the book. They do sometimes come off as one-dimensional. And I think we could have had, especially early in the novel, more time to develop this world a little bit and kind of gone into some of the corners of the world and understood different bits and pieces of it. Sometimes the geography of the world is a little unclear because there are certain these villages that are on Earth, and I don't know, geographically speaking, how far away each other are. How do they communicate? Do they communicate? And those things are kind of left pretty vague. Some of the action scenes were a little bit confusing. There's some word choice issues that I have in the book. Characters sometimes have leaps of logic and sometimes will understand things without really the foundational knowledge being there. Some of the dialogue was a little rough as well. And I'm someone who, and this is not a hard and fast rule, this is really just more of my preference. I believe this is probably would be considered a YA novel. Most of the characters are younger characters. Two of the three main characters in the novel are younger characters. There is cursing in the novel, so I will tell people if that's something you're not prepared for. It does happen. It's not really aggressive. It's not over the top, but there is some cursing in the book. Yeah, I think those are the overall issues. I think if there is one issue, the biggest issue, glaring issue I had with the book was just I think there could have been more time to pace out the book a little bit more, slow down a little bit, because it does feel like we're going scene to scene to scene to scene. And I think some of the foundational character work could have been done a little bit earlier in the novel, so it's not just kind of this breakneck speed. So that was really my biggest issue with it. I thought it was a fun genre, and it reads pretty quickly. It is something. It does have a propulsion to it, but I think the book would have been better served if there had been more time in the beginning to really understand this world, the stakes of the world, the characters involved, what they wanted. and like I said, some of those other things about the details of the world. But if you're someone who likes dystopic fiction and wants something that's a relatively quick read, has some elements of science fiction in it, like I said, it does kind of mention later in the novel artificial intelligence, you may enjoy this book. Again, that was the book that reminded me the most of was probably The Knife of Letting Go that I've read for the channel. I'll leave my link review to that below. Not sure exactly what I'll be reading for next time, but please, if you've enjoyed this, like the video. If you haven't already gotten a chance to subscribe to the channel, please do. And until next time, bye.